Hi everyone, welcome to week 5. I wanted to check back in with you and give you a kind of an overview of what to expect this week, as well as some tips and pointers for the assignments. So first of all, we are continuing the work that we started last week and the week before. So we're continuing to revise the documented argument essays. We are continuing to revise our annotated bibliographies, submitting a revision with all 10 sources this week. And then our discussion this week is pretty similar to our discussion last week, and that is kind of a peer review again of the documented argument. So as I have read through your assignments from this last week and from week 3, I wanted to give you a few pointers. So first, for the documented argument, the biggest thing that I can stress is that this is opinion free, if that's possible, as unbiased as possible, as balanced as possible. So imagine that you are, remember we had the example, the metaphor of going to a party, that you arrive late to a party and you're listening in on a conversation. So the same thing is happening in your documented argument. So you arrive late at the party, you're listening to the conversation, you've read your sources. Then imagine that a friend arrives late as well, like even later than you did. And your job now is to fill them in on what's going on. So you would not offer your own opinion. You would simply say, here are the players in this conversation, here's what they're saying and why, just to kind of catch them up with where you are. That is what you're doing in the documented argument. So if your opinion is in that essay, omit it completely. Your argument appears in the form of organizing your sources. You're saying these 4 sources kind of align on this side of the argument, these other 4 align on the other side of the argument. So your argument is really balanced and is not your opinion on that topic. That will come in the public argument, which we will be working on in the next 2 weeks, weeks 6 and 7. So that's one of the biggest things I've noticed as I've read through your documented argument assignments. The other thing that I want to stress is in that conversation, as you are highlighting the main ideas for your friend who also came late, you want to be as objective as possible, as balanced as possible, and you also want to include the right sources, the very best sources for that information. So please return to the prompt page to see what to include and what to exclude from your sources. But in general, if you have opinion or editorial pieces, you want to omit those completely. Those are not peer-reviewed. Those are not very academic or scholarly sources. Those are really just people offering their opinion in a public place. So consider those kinds of things as you offer up the voices in the conversation. There are lots of people nationwide talking about these topics, but you want to select the ones that are really offering either the main ideas from that conversation or the best ideas from that conversation. So that's the first thing in the documented argument. The second thing that I want to note is a lot of you, and I'm doing it just now, a lot of you use the second person you in your writing. And unless you are specifically addressing the reader, inviting a particular audience into the conversation, omit that completely. And I would say few of you have created essays where that is the case. So in general, I would say just omit it completely. Don't ever use the second person you, because we often use it in a general sense, not in a very specific sense. So for that reason, if you have questions about it, please ask me. I'd be happy to answer them, but just want to offer that. I noted that quite a few times. The third thing, whenever you introduce a source or an author for the first time, introduce them a little bit. Give readers an idea of who that person is. So if you said Shelley Engstrom says this about this topic, the reader might be thinking, well, who is that? Why does her voice matter? So give them some ideas. If it's talking about research papers, then you can tell them that I've been teaching for a long time, that I've taught in higher ed, that I'm, in a sense, an expert in the field. So use that the first time you introduce a source. The remaining times, readers will remember the name. The fourth thing I want to note is that be sure that you cite all quoted material with a page number. If it's paraphrased or summarized, you still need to cite it. if it comes from a source, but the page number is not necessary. It's kind of optional in APA to cite the page number. I encourage it because for me, it makes it easier for me to go back and check for plagiarism. But if anything is in quotes in your essay, it must be cited. Author's name, date, and page number. And again, if you have questions, please ask me about that. If you have information from a source that is not cited, it counts as plagiarism, which we take very seriously here. So I encourage you to utilize Turnitin. This week, your assignment will be submitted via Turnitin. So upload your paper early to see what percentage it sees as plagiarized. And that will help you. So you have multiple times that you can submit your assignment, and that will help you check about plagiarism. If you hear snorting in some way, it's my dog, so my apologies. She's very loud. Okay, the second assignment this week is your annotated bibliography. So please review your textbook. I believe your chapter, mine is a little different, it's a different edition. Your chapter is chapter 21, I believe, or 22, that has an outline of everything that you'll need to know about APA. So review the chapters in your textbook, look for the reference notes on the annotated bibliography. So if you, which you should, have cited sources for your documented argument, I make most of my notes on the annotated bibliography just so that I can separate them. I can focus on your essay and the documented argument, and I can focus on your citations in the annotated bibliography. Again, if you have questions, please let me know. Next page of notes here. A few general notes that I wrote quite a few times on your annotated bibliographies. Don't forget hanging indentation and to put your sources in alphabetical order. And let me know if you're not sure. I'd be happy to answer questions. I did post below 2 citation PowerPoints to help you. One is for in-text citations, one is for reference citations. So it's, if you want to play it as a game, it's kind of a game. That's how I intended it. That's how I created it. But it offers you information, and then you practice writing the citation, and then it gives you the answer. So you can check whether or not you cited things correctly. Even if you use the library or another EasyBib or any other citation assistance websites or apps, double check them, because often there's a little something that's out of place. So you want to be sure that you're precise in those citations. The third assignment and last one that I'm going to discuss here is the discussion. For your initial post, you are offering 2 areas that need improvement, that need revision. And a lot of you did a great job on this. You offered the 2 spots where you hope to improve, but also tell what you hope to do to improve those, or invite questions if you're not really sure what exactly to do to make those better. So invite the engagement of your peers on those in order to develop your ideas more fully. And then really just overall, you're doing really well. And your responses to peers, I've been impressed by your suggestions and your encouragement. I think that goes a long way. I also have included one last PowerPoint below, and that is for introductions and conclusions. Essentially, what those cover is that the idea of an intro and a conclusion is to ease readers into your topic, and then once you've discussed your topic, to kind of ease them back into their real life. So keep that in mind as you review those PowerPoints. All right, one last thing to note. Several of you are pretty far behind or somewhat behind. If you are planning to catch up, please email me this week. Send me an email if you haven't done so already, so that we can game plan together a way to get you caught up and quickly. We're entering into a pretty crucial time in the course where falling behind kind of snowballs into falling further and further behind, and it becomes more and more difficult to catch up. So please send me an email if you're planning to submit late work. Lastly, as always, if you have any questions at all, let me know. If you would like to Skype or chat via email this week, send me an email, send me a message. I'm available, and we can set something up to answer your questions and hopefully get you back on track. So good to see you. Yeah, I guess that summarizes my video here. Good to see you. Again, let me know if you have questions. All right, take care.